Hi, my name is Bailey Willington, and this is my class presentation over circle graphs. So the title of my lesson is called Exploring Circle Graphs. It is focused for 4th grade mathematics, and it is approximately 70 minutes in duration. So the standards covered in this lesson is the 4th grade mathematics TEKS. It is 1E, Mathematic Process Standards. The student uses mathematical processes to acquire and demonstrate mathematical understanding. The student is expected to create and use representations to organize, record, and communicate mathematical ideas. So the student learning objective is that students will be able to interpret and create circle graphs or pie charts to represent data. The materials required for this lesson is individual whiteboards and markers, circle graph templates, colored pencils, data set worksheets, and also rulers. So the first part of the lesson is the introduction, and I have allotted about 15 minutes. So to begin, I will ask students about different ways that we can represent data. So we'll discuss bar graphs, line graphs, and then I will introduce the topic of circle graphs. So I will then explain to students that circle graphs are a useful way to show parts of a whole and are often used to represent fractions and percentages. So to demonstrate this, I will ask the class to tell me their favorite pets, and we can create a circle graph or a pie chart from this data. So I went ahead and created an example of what I would do. So this is kind of what it would look like. It might be backwards, but so we have favorite pets up here. This would be the total just guesstimate of students, and then how many each student said. So let's say there was 5 students who said that dogs were their favorite, 2 students said cats, 2 students said fish, and then we have 1 for other. So I would draw a circle graph kind of like this and label each different section. And I also colored them in so that way the students can see how each of these are individual parts and how these numbers right here represent or go into the whole graph. So then on the side I also included the percentages so students can see how all of the percentages combined create one whole or equal 100%. So we'll discuss this more in the lesson, but this is just kind of an example that I created. So then we would move on into guided practice, which I have about 20 minutes for. So first we will discuss the different components of a circle graph, and you will use the graph that we created of our favorite pets. So we'll label each section kind of like I have here, and with the corresponding pet, and discuss how the entire circle represents 100%, kind of using these percentages right here. So then I will ask students to identify what part of the whole each section represents, again emphasizing that the whole circle is 100%. So then as a class, we'll work through a couple more examples on the whiteboard, and I'll give students an example for them to create their own circle graph out of a data set that I gave them. And they'll draw that on their whiteboards, and then when they're finished, they can hold up their whiteboards so I can go around the room and check. And we'll kind of discuss more about how to find percentages for each section and how to create a corresponding circle graph for those percentages. So then we will move into independent practice. For independent practice, I have about 20 minutes allotted. So I'll distribute data set worksheets to students. They will be tasked with creating their own circle graphs to represent a data set given to them. And then the students can use rulers to help them draw the lines and create the sections. So once the students have drawn their circle graphs, then they'll use the colored pencils to shade in each section to make them more visually appealing, and also it would also be easier for the students to kind of associate each part to each color and how they all come together to make one whole, kind of like I did in my example that I showed on the board. So then we would move into partnered practice, which I have about 10 minutes for. So students will work with their tables to discuss their worksheets and also check each other's work, make sure everybody got the right answer or the same answer. And then during this time, I'll be traveling around the room, kind of checking and monitoring and helping students when needed. So then we'll move into the end of the lesson, the closure. So I have about 10 minutes for this. So to close our lesson, I will ask students to reflect on what they've learned about circle graphs. And then we will have a short discussion about how circle graphs are used in real world scenarios and how they are kind of used in everyday life, how they might see them in everyday life. So that will conclude the lesson, and then students will have a homework assignment. So for homework, students are tasked with finding examples of circle graphs, either from like newspapers, magazines, ads, or some online resources if that is available to them, and then they will bring those to class. So students can either print these off if they found them online, or they can cut them out of a magazine or a piece of paper and glue them onto a separate piece of paper. So I will give students about 2 days to gather their graphs and return them to class. And that is exploring circle graphs. Thank you.